Welcome to More Mojo on WatchMojo.com. I'm your host, Trey Moore. Today I want to talk to you guys about the difference between promiscuity and monogamy. And well, we know what the difference is. I want to talk about the tension between the two. There's a lot of buzz going around it all the time. What's right, what's wrong, when you betray someone, what's considered a sin. Well, the problem with talking about the good and the bad about monogamy and promiscuity is we tend to fall back on morality. And when you fall back on morality, you're going to end up talking about religion, and it's going to turn into a long, drawn-out debate. So let's look at this from a natural point of view. Well, monogamists are going to tell you this much. Monogamy is better because it helps us perpetuate as a species. This is the way the argument goes. A caveman doesn't want his cave woman to be playing the field because if she is, he might end up having to protect and provide for someone else's child. At the same time, the cave woman doesn't want the caveman playing the field because then he might not be there tomorrow to help take care of the baby that he left her with. Okay, fine, great. They say there's other advantages to it. When you're monogamous, the child itself has a better chance of surviving. There's two parents providing for it. There's two parents looking after it. Well, this is the thing. Have you ever heard the expression that a child isn't raised by two parents but by an entire community? And this is where the naturalist monogamy argument falls flat on its face. Human beings never lived in a nuclear family in the state of nature. The nuclear family is a relatively recent invention in the whole grand scheme of natural history. Human beings are social creatures. We always lived in communities, in tribes, in bands, in clans, whatever you want to call them. The only reason human beings were able to survive in nature is with a bit of cooperation and a bit of brains. They always lived in communities. When you think about it in these terms, all of a sudden promiscuity doesn't pose as many problems in terms of child rearing. In fact, promiscuity just might increase our chances of surviving as a species. Now, when you're sleeping around, when you're promiscuous, you end up with a lot more children. If you're all looking after each other's children and you're not too worried about whose belongs to whom, this doesn't necessarily have to be a problem. Why? Well, in the state of nature, when you're running around from cave to cave to cave, there's a lot of work to be done. You don't have medicine. You gotta find a way to keep the numbers up, so you wanna produce as many kids as possible. On the other hand, when these kids grow up, they're gonna mean more hunters, more farmers, more fishermen, more safety. That's it, there's safety in numbers. So monogamy falls flat on its face in natural terms when you start thinking about wealth in terms of human life as opposed to material possessions. Basically, every child becomes everyone else's benefit. Consequently, every child becomes everyone else's responsibility.